of line!
Get out of my store! Is that it?
I don't care, this is my store!
No, this is not your store.
Rain smeared the glass storefront like streaks of accusation. Inside, the fluorescent lights buzzed above Danielle Brooks, her heels echoing against the polished marble floor of Brooks & Co., the luxury boutique she had built from the ground up. The store smelled of leather, lavender, and her success. But the security guard's stare, hard, unmoving, cut through all of it. He'd been watching her since she arrived, as if she didn't belong. Now, as she handed a customer's purchase receipt to the cashier, a cold voice sliced through the air. "Ma'am," the guard said, hand on his belt. "I'll need to see your bag." Danielle blinked. "My bag?" "Store policy," he said, eyes darting to the white woman behind her. "Just routine." The customer's smirk widened. A phone camera lifted. Danielle's heart kicked. The store, her store, tilted on its axis. "This is my store," she said, voice trembling more with disbelief than anger. The guard's jaw locked. "Don't make a scene." He reached for her arm. She pulled back. The slap came so fast it didn't sound real, just a sharp, wet crack echoing under the lights. Silence followed. The cameras caught everything. So did the police when they arrived. "Put your hands where I can see them." Her vision blurred with rain and humiliation. Outside, blue lights painted her reflection on the glass, her own face looking back, unrecognizable. Somewhere behind the siren, someone whispered, "Guess she wasn't the owner after all." And in that instant, Danielle understood. The empire she built could vanish in the span of one racist assumption. Then the cuffs tightened. Rain drummed against the glass facade of Brooks & Co., soft but relentless. Inside, every reflection gleamed, chrome fixtures, marble floors, and the sleek gold lettering of the brand name she'd once dreamed up on the back of a napkin. Danielle Brooks stood near the counter, adjusting the cuff of her blazer. She had just finished a quiet inspection of the new handbag line when she caught it again. The stare. From across the room, the security guard watched her, arms crossed over his chest, jaw clenched. It wasn't new. She'd seen that look before, on cab drivers, at airports, at fundraisers, but this time it burned in her own store, under her own logo. "Morning, Ms. Brooks," murmured Alina, her assistant, offering a nervous smile. "Do you want me to—" Danielle shook her head. "No, let's see where this goes." The store was busy. A few regulars lingered near the display wall, mostly women in crisp coats, coffee cups in hand. Danielle moved behind the counter, checking the new POS screen. The guard's footsteps followed. "Excuse me," he said finally. Danielle turned, expecting professionalism. Instead, she saw suspicion. "Can I help you?" He gestured toward her leather tote. "Need to check your bag," her brow furrowed. "My bag?" "Routine check. Someone reported a possible concealment." "Concealment of what?" He shrugged. "A customer's wallet went missing." Alina stepped forward. "She's the owner." "Ma'am, please don't interfere." Danielle inhaled sharply. "I think you're mistaken." I'm not mistaken." His voice hardened. "Hand me the bag." The nearby customers turned. Phones lifted, subtle, hungry. Danielle placed the bag on the counter with deliberate calm. "Fine, but you should know this is being recorded." The guard flipped it open. Wallet, tablet, notebook, nothing else. He paused at the monogram on the inner flap. DB. His face twitched. Still, he didn't back down. "You people always have excuses," he muttered. Low, but not low enough. Alina froze. Danielle's throat tightened. "What did you just say?" He straightened. "Ma'am, step aside. This is my store," she said, voice trembling but clear. "You will not speak to me like—" "Don't make a scene," he cut in, stepping closer. I said, "Back off." The distance between them vanished. His hand shot out, grabbing her wrist. The sound came next. Flat, sharp, obscene. A slap. It cracked across her face with such suddenness that even the air seemed to recoil. The room went silent except for the soft hum of the ceiling lights. Danielle didn't move. The sting spread down her jaw, a hot bloom under the skin. She could feel every eye on her. Then, almost mechanically, she whispered, "You hit me." Alina gasped. "Sir, what is wrong with you?" He stepped back, already pulling out his radio. "Code 12. Possible theft suspect resisting." Danielle stared, disbelief hollowing her chest. You assaulted me in my own store. He didn't answer. The radio crackled. Within minutes, the glass doors burst open. 2 police officers entered, 1 male, 1 female. Rainwater dripped from their jackets onto the marble. The guard pointed. That's her. Danielle's voice broke through. I'm Danielle Brooks, CEO of this. Ma'am, please keep your hands visible, the officer said flatly. Visible? Are you serious? Step away from the counter. Alina tried again. She owns this. The male officer turned on her. Step back, miss. Danielle's hands trembled, palms open. This is a mistake. Look, my ID, my business card. Turn around, please. She stared at him. You're not doing this. He reached for her arm. Turn around. Now. When the cold metal of the cuffs bit into her wrists, something in her broke, not loudly, but with the quiet clarity of glass under pressure, customers whispered. One woman filmed, whispering to another, guess she wasn't the owner after all. Outside, the storm intensified. Sirens reflected blue and red across the rain-streaked windows. Danielle stumbled as they let her out. Her heels slipped on the wet tile. Her dignity trailed behind, invisible but heavier than iron. Alina followed, shouting, This is a mistake. You can't just... The officer turned. Back off or we'll take you in too. She froze, tears streaking her cheeks. Danielle was shoved into the back of the police car. The door slammed, sealing her in the metallic chill of disbelief. Her reflection in the partition glass looked foreign. Makeup smeared. Eyes wide, still waiting for reality to make sense. In the front seat, the guard spoke with the officer's voice confident. Rehearsed, she got aggressive. Tried to walk out with merchandise. I had to restrain her. The female officer nodded. Good thing you were here. Danielle's chest constricted. The words blurred behind the glass, distorted by the rain. She wanted to scream, but all that came out was a whisper meant for no one. I built this place. The city lights flickered past, bleeding through the rain. Somewhere her phone was still in the store, buzzing with messages, alarms, meetings. None of it mattered now. Every heartbeat sounded like an accusation. The car slowed. The officer's voice crackled over the radio. Suspect in custody. Female, late 30s, resisting detainment. Possible assault. Assault. The irony clawed at her. At a stoplight, the male officer glanced back. You people think money changes things. It doesn't. Her breath hitched. Excuse me? He turned away, unconcerned. Just saying. You should have cooperated. Her vision tunneled, but not from tears, just rage, pure and silent. Outside, thunder rolled over the skyline. The rain washed the streets clean, but not her name. Not this. When they reached the precinct, the door opened to a flood of fluorescent light. The world smelled of wet pavement, bleach, and humiliation. Step out, she obeyed. Her wrists ached from the cuffs. Somewhere in her, a voice whispered, Don't cry here. Not here. The guard lingered by the car, talking to an officer with smug familiarity. Their laughter carried across the wet lot. Danielle lifted her head, chin trembling but unbroken. Her thoughts sharpened into one cold, flawless truth. They had taken everything, her control, her dignity, her voice. But they had also given her something new, a reason. The sound of the door locking behind her echoed through the hallway like punctuation at the end of a nightmare. The slap was still burning on her cheek, and somewhere deep beneath the pain something darker was beginning to wake. The booking room reeked of disinfectant and defeat. The hum of fluorescent lights pressed down like judgment, white and unflinching. Danielle sat on a steel bench, wrists cuffed to a metal ring on the wall. Her blazer hung crooked, hair damp from rain and sweat. The red mark on her cheek had already begun to swell. Across the room, a young officer typed lazily at a computer. Each keystroke felt like a verdict. Name, he said without looking up. Danielle Brooks. Occupation? She paused. CEO. That made him look. He smirked. Of what? Brooks & Comer Luxury Retail, he typed, still smirking. Guessing business ain't doing great today. The desk sergeant chuckled. Danielle said nothing. Charges? She asked quietly. Resisting detainment, potential theft, assault on security personnel. Her voice sharpened. He assaulted me. The sergeant's grin faltered. Lady, you really want to play that card? Cameras say otherwise. There are more cameras than his, he shrugged. Then you'll get your chance in court. Until then, sit tight. The sound of handcuffs unlocking next to her drew her eyes. Another woman, dark-skinned, younger, maybe mid-20s, being released from the intake desk. Their eyes met. The woman gave a wry half-smile. First time? Danielle hesitated. Yes. Don't worry, she said softly. You'll get used to the tone. They don't see people here, just problems. A guard barked from across the room. No talking. The woman winked before being led away down a dim corridor. Danielle turned her gaze to the metal table in front of her. Her reflection on its surface looked warped, as if the room itself refused to recognize her. Her phone vibrated from a confiscated tray. Messages rolled in, lighting up the screen. Call me now. Board meeting emergency. We're trending. Our incident. Her stomach clenched. An officer approached with a fingerprint scanner. Hands. The machine beeped as it took her prints. Cold gel smeared against her fingertips. You don't have to be rough, she muttered. He looked up, unimpressed. Lady, everyone says that. I'm not everyone, he snorted. That's what they all say too. When the flash went off for her mugshot, she flinched. The camera froze her mid-blink, half dignified, half broken. She thought of her office, the walnut desk, the glass awards, the interns who called her ma'am with pride. All of it felt like a distant fiction. The sergeant handed her a form. Sign here. What's this? Release for property inventory. She skimmed it. Eyes catching on a line. Evidence logged. One brown leather handbag containing company keycard. Tablet and wallet with identification. Her voice cut through the monotony. That bag was mine. It wasn't evidence. Then let the detectives figure that out. I am the figure that out, she snapped. The room went still. For the first time, the sergeant looked directly at her. He leaned forward, voice quiet but sharp. You think that title means something in here? Out there, maybe. In here, you're just another file. The words landed like another slap. The metallic door buzzed open. A new figure entered, tall, composed, carrying a briefcase. Miles Grant, her attorney. He flashed credentials, icy calm. Danielle Brooks is my client. I'll need a private room, the sergeant shrugged. She's still being processed. Then process faster. 10 minutes later, Danielle sat in a small gray interrogation room, her wrists finally free. The air was cold enough to make her shiver. Miles sat opposite, lowering his voice. I saw the video, she tensed. The slap? He nodded grimly. It's already online. Has about 500,000 views. Her throat went dry. And the police statement? They're calling it a routine misunderstanding. The guard claims you were aggressive. Danielle let out a bitter laugh. Aggressive. That's the word they always pick. He said you tried to leave without paying. In my store? I know. He leaned forward. Listen carefully. They're going to hold you for a few hours. The department's playing it quiet, hoping it blows over. Don't say anything else to anyone. She stared at the wall. They think silence will make this go away. It might, he said. For them. Not for you. Danielle's fingers twitched. The board will panic. They already are, Miles said flatly. 2 investors are demanding a statement. PR is begging you to apologize publicly, to calm the optics. Apologize? She laughed again, hollow. For what? Getting hit? For existing in the wrong frame, he replied quietly. The silence stretched. He added, I'll get you out tonight. But when you leave, don't speak to reporters. Don't post. Let me control the message, her eyes hardened. No, I control the message. Danielle, I built my name from nothing. I won't let them rewrite it because a man with a badge decided to play God. Miles exhaled. Then be ready for war, because they'll make you pay for not bowing. She didn't answer. When he left to finalize paperwork, she sat alone, tracing the faint bruise on her cheekbone. The ache had settled into something deeper, something permanent. The door opened again. The young officer from intake stood there holding her property bag. For a second, his expression softened. Ma'am, he said quietly, almost human. For what it's worth. That wasn't right. She looked up. Then why didn't you stop it? He hesitated. Not my call. Then whose is it? He didn't answer. The door shut behind him, leaving her in the hum of electric silence. Danielle leaned back, eyes closing. Pulse steady now. Humiliation had burned away something fragile. What remained was harder, colder, focused. The fluorescent lights hummed above her. Indifferent witnesses, somewhere outside. The rain had stopped. Inside, resolve began to gather, quiet, deliberate, unyielding. Tomorrow the world would see her face, not as a victim, but as a reckoning waiting to happen. Morning came without mercy. Sunlight spilled through the blinds of Danielle's penthouse like an interrogation lamp. The city below buzzed, oblivious. But her phone wouldn't stop vibrating. An unending stream of notifications, headlines, and hollow sympathies. She sat at the edge of her bed, wrapped in a gray robe, eyes bloodshot. The news anchor's voice filled the silence. Footage of a confrontation at Brooks & Comer's, a luxury boutique, has gone viral overnight. The video shows a black woman being detained by police after allegedly assaulting a store security guard. Unconfirmed reports suggest she is the store's owner, Danielle Brooks, CEO of the Brooks Group. The screen cut to shaky cell phone footage, her face mid-slap, frozen between disbelief and pain. The caption below screamed, "Luxury looting, CEO or criminal." Her phone rang again. She didn't answer. Then came the call she couldn't ignore. Miles. "Don't look at social media," he said. Voice sharp, "I already did." I said, "Don't, it's a feeding frenzy." "They're calling me violent, entitled," he exhaled. "They've twisted it. The guard's statement is everywhere. They're framing it as you attacking him when he tried to do his job." Danielle rose and walked toward the window. The city skyline glittered, cruel and indifferent. "And the police? They've doubled down. Said it was handled professionally. They're painting you as a PR threat." Her hand tightened on the phone. "Handled professionally? I was handcuffed in my own store." "Danielle, listen." "No," she snapped. "They want silence." "I'm not giving them silence." There was a pause. "Then what are you giving them?" "The truth." She hung up. Moments later, a new call buzzed. Evelyn crossed the board chair. Her tone was syrup and steel. "Danielle, we need to talk." "I assume this is about the video." "Of course it's about the video," Evelyn hissed. "We're hemorrhaging clients. The investors are in panic mode. Our brand's name is trending, for the wrong reasons." "I'm the victim here, Evelyn." "You're the story," Evelyn corrected. "And stories don't care about truth, they care about control. For now, we need distance. You should step down temporarily until the investigation clears you." Danielle's voice turned cold. "Step down for being assaulted? It's about optics. It's about cowardice." Evelyn sighed. "We can't afford moral stances right now. Not when people are hashtagging boycott Brooks." Danielle let the silence hang. When she finally spoke, her words were knives. "Tell the board I'm not stepping down, and if they force me, I'll burn every file that proves we've been outsourcing to factories that violate labor laws. Shall I list the locations?" Evelyn's voice faltered. "Danielle, don't threaten." "I'm not threatening," she said, calm now. "I'm reminding." Click. The call ended. She stood still, heartbeat loud in her ears. Outside, traffic roared like distant applause for a play she never agreed to star in. Her doorbell rang. Alina stood there, pale, shaken, holding a laptop. "It's bad," she whispered. "Really bad." They sat together on the couch as Alina opened the trending feed. Comment after comment scrolled past, another angry black woman playing victim. "She hit the guard first. Watch closely. If she's innocent, why'd the police arrest her?" Privilege comes in all colors, huh? A video compilation played. Edited clips, dramatic music, false subtitles. Danielle shut it. "They're rewriting reality." Alina's hands trembled. "The guard's name is trending too. People are calling him a hero." Danielle looked up sharply. "A hero? He's giving interviews. Says he feared for his life." "Of course he did." Danielle muttered bitterly. "That line always works." She stood, pacing. "We need to release our statement now." Alina hesitated. Miles said to wait. "I'm not waiting. Pull up the camera archives from the store. Already tried. The footage is locked. The security company won't grant access without a warrant." Danielle's face hardened. "Then we'll find another way." She walked to her desk, opened her laptop, and began typing furiously. Every keystroke was a declaration of war. Alina watched, voice small. "What are you writing?" "My own statement. Danielle, if you post, they'll twist it again, and they already have. At least now they'll have to twist my words, not theirs." Minutes later, her post went live. "Yesterday I was assaulted and arrested inside the company I built. Not because I broke the law, but because some people can't believe a black woman belongs in the space she owns. This isn't just my story. It's every quiet humiliation we're told to swallow. I will not be silent." It hit the internet like a detonation. Within minutes, hashtags split into two sides. Cameron stand with Danielle versus Der Justice for the Guard news outlets refresh their feeds. Talk shows booked cultural commentators. The battle lines were drawn. Hours later, Miles called again. You just made yourself the face of a national debate. Good. Not good, he snapped. They'll dig into your past. Your finances. Your employees. Anything they can weaponize, let them, she said quietly. At least they'll have to look at me this time. He sighed. Danielle, they don't want to look at you. They want to define you. Then I'll redefine myself louder. There was a long pause. Then, you realize this isn't a PR crisis anymore. It's war against a system that doesn't lose. She met her reflection in the darkened glass of the window, face bruised, eyes unwavering. Then I'll learn its rules. That night she scrolled through a storm of headlines. CEO or confrontation, what really happened at Brooks & Co. Security guard speaks out. I did what I had to. The racial optics of power and perception. Every headline built a cage around her name. Then, a message notification. Unknown number. They lied about the footage. You need to see something. She froze. The text came with a link and a line. From inside the department. Her pulse kicked. Alina, she called softly. Get Miles on the line now. As the rain began again, tapping against the glass like static, Danielle's reflection merged with the city's neon glow. Fractured, flickering, defiant. Somewhere out there, truth existed, but she would have to drag it out herself, through every layer of lies built to bury it. And for the first time since that slap, she almost smiled. By the time Monday arrived, the entire city knew her name, not for the company she'd built, but for the scandal that devoured it. Morning talk shows dissected every second of the video. News chyrons screamed, the slap scene around the country. Danielle watched it all from behind the tinted glass of her attorney's office. Her face was composed, her hands steady, but her voice, when she finally spoke, carried iron beneath restraint. They've turned my humiliation into content, she said. Miles leaned back in his chair. That's how the cycle works. First outrage, then doubt, then fatigue. They're already moving to phase 2, the fake apology tour. Danielle frowned. What are you talking about? He slid a printed email across the desk. The letterhead read, City Police Department, Public Relations Division. They're hosting a joint press conference this afternoon, he said. You're invited to clarify misunderstandings and restore community confidence. Her eyes narrowed. They want me to smile through a lie. Exactly. The mayor's office wants optics, not truth. The security firm, too. They've drafted a joint statement. You'd read from a teleprompter. They apologize, you accept. Everyone moves on. She stared at him. Miles, I was slapped in my own store. Arrested like a criminal. And they think a scripted performance fixes that. He didn't answer. His silence was answer enough. 3 hours later, the press room buzzed with the stale perfume of cameras and spin. The podium bore 3 logos. City Police, Guardian Security, and Brooks & Co. Danielle stood beside the security firm's representative, a slick man in a gray suit with a perfect smile. The police chief stood on her other side, posture firm, expression blank. Dozens of cameras pointed at them. The red lights blinked like warning signs. The spokesperson began. We are here today to address the unfortunate incident that occurred at Brooks & Co. last week. We acknowledge the distress caused and reaffirm our shared commitment to mutual respect and cooperation. Danielle's jaw tightened. Mutual respect. The man continued. Ms. Brooks and our firm have discussed the event privately, and we're pleased to announce a resolution. Our security officer deeply regrets any misunderstanding. Danielle's hand twitched. Her PR manager, standing at the back, gave her the prearranged cue to smile. She didn't, and Ms. Brooks recognizes that tensions can escalate when communication fails. The man went on smoothly. The room hummed with satisfaction, the narrative sewn shut. But then Danielle stepped forward. Toward the microphone. No, she said. The man froze. Excuse me? No, she repeated, voice sharper now. That's not what happened. The cameras shifted instantly, lenses hungry. She faced the crowd. There was no misunderstanding. There was profiling. There was an assault. And then there was an arrest built on a lie. The police chief's expression hardened. Ms. Brooks, don't interrupt me, she said. You've done enough of that already. Gasps rippled through the room. Danielle turned to the cameras. Her eyes found the red recording light and locked on. "This isn't about my company," she said, voice steady. "It's about a system that protects itself by rewriting truth. The man who hit me still has his job. The officers who cuffed me were praised. And I was told to stand here today and pretend it was an accident." The PR manager mouthed. "Stop." She didn't. "I won't be part of your performance," she continued. "You don't fix racism with press releases. You fix it by admitting power was abused, and by holding people accountable for it." For a heartbeat, the room was silent. Cameras clicked, then chaos. Reporters shouted over one another. "Are you filing charges?" Did the guard apologize personally? Is Brooks and Cobers cutting ties with Guardian Security? Danielle stepped back from the podium. "You'll get my answer soon enough." She walked off stage. In the hallway, Miles caught up with her. "What the hell was that?" "The truth," she said. "You just blew up every agreement we negotiated. They were never agreements. They were chains." Danielle, she stopped walking. "Miles, they hit me and told me to say thank you." "I'm done being polite," he sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Then you better hope you've got more than outrage to fight with." She looked him in the eye. "I do." That evening, the networks replayed her walk-off in slow motion. Analysts called it defiant, reckless career suicide. But online, something shifted. Under the hashtag #NoMoreScripts, thousands began posting their own experiences of public humiliation, false arrests, and corporate silencing. Danielle scrolled through them quietly from her office, the glow of the screen reflected in her tired eyes. Alina entered, breathless. "You're trending again, but this time it's different." Danielle arched a brow. "How different?" "People are quoting you, saying you said what they couldn't." A long pause. "And the board?" Alina hesitated. "They called an emergency meeting." "Of course they did." Danielle stood and crossed to the window. The city lights looked colder tonight. "They'll come for my position next." Alina nodded. "You think they'll succeed?" Danielle smiled faintly, but there was no warmth in it. "They'll think they have. Until I decide otherwise." Her phone buzzed again, a text from an unknown number. From private source message, body cam footage. "You were right. They edited everything. Call me before this disappears." Danielle stared at the message, pulse rising. Behind her, the TV replayed the press conference. Her face, her words, her refusal, now weaponized and worshipped all at once. But none of that mattered. Not compared to what the message promised. Proof. The truth they said didn't exist. Rain drummed on the glass wall of Danielle's penthouse office, each drop sharp as a heartbeat. The city below shimmered, restless, sleepless, and watching her every move. The text glowed on her phone again. "Private source, you were right. They edited everything. Call me before this disappears." Danielle's thumb hovered over the screen. The clock read 2:13 a.m. Her reflection looked back, dark circles under her eyes, a tension carved into her jaw. She hit call. A voice answered immediately. Male. Steady. But low. "You don't know me, Ms. Brooks. I'm not supposed to have this." "Who are you?" "Former tech contractor for the police department. I helped review the incident footage before it went public." Danielle's grip tightened. "You're saying the body cam video was altered?" "Cut, spliced, and muted. The version they released removed sound from the first 30 seconds. The guard's slur, the order to arrest you, is all gone." Her pulse quickened. "Can you prove it?" "I can send the full file. But once I do, I'm burned. You didn't get it from me. You never heard my name, and understood." There was a pause. "Then check your email in 10 minutes. Use a private line. Don't open it on company servers." The call ended. Danielle exhaled slowly, then moved. She shut down her laptop, retrieved a clean tablet from the drawer, and powered it up offline. Minutes later, an encrypted message arrived. A single video file attached. She pressed play. The footage began in her store in the same sterile angle she'd seen on the news. But this time, sound filled the frame. The guard's voice was clear, unmistakable. "Ma'am, step back." I said step back. Her own voice followed, calm but firm. "This is my store. You're trespassing." Then the slap. The impact echoed louder than memory. The guard's next words froze her blood. "Didn't know you people owned places like this." Danielle's throat tightened. She kept watching. The arrest, the order from the arriving officer, the smugness in his tone. "Just cuff her." She'll thank us later when this goes quiet. Her fingers trembled. Then she stopped the video, sat perfectly still. By sunrise, Miles was in her office again, coffee in hand. "I ask you, you have what?" he said, disbelief mixing with exhaustion. "The uncut footage," she replied. "Everything. The slur, the order. The cover-up," he swore softly. "If that's real, this changes everything." "It is real." He rubbed his face. "You can't just post it online, Danielle. Chain of custody, evidence integrity. They'll question everything. We need to route this right." "I'm done routing things," she said coldly. "I'm going public." Miles slammed his coffee down. "You'll get sued before sunrise. They'll bury you in injunctions. Then I'll make sure they can't bury the truth with me." Her tone was final. He stared at her. The exhaustion, the fury, the absolute clarity in her eyes, and sighed. "At least let me prepare a release statement." "No statements. Just the video." 2 hours later, Danielle stood in front of the same window from which she'd watched her city rise and fall. Alina sat at the desk, hands trembling over the upload button. "You're sure about this?" Alina whispered. "Yes. Once it's out there, there's no taking it back." "Good." Danielle nodded toward the screen. "Post it." Alina hit enter. The progress bar climbed. Uploading 12%, 34%, 78%. Complete. Within minutes, the video exploded across every platform. Hashtags surged. Uncut footage. Justice for Brooks. System exposed. Newsroom scrambled. Commentators reversed positions mid-broadcast. This changes the narrative entirely. By noon, it wasn't just a story. It was a movement. Inside the city police headquarters, chaos reigned. The chief's voice thundered down the hall. "Who leaked this?" "Find out now," the public information officer stammered. "We're being hit from every angle. Civil rights groups are calling. The mayor's office wants a statement within the hour. I want that video gone." The chief roared. "Sir, it's mirrored everywhere. Hundreds of accounts. We can't erase it." The chief's face drained of color. "Then we contain it." He turned to his deputy. "Issue a press release. Claim it's doctored." The deputy hesitated. "But the metadata, lie better." At Brooks & Coven, reporters crowded outside the glass doors. Microphones flashed like weapons. "Ms. Brooks, did you leak the footage yourself? Are you planning legal action? Do you feel vindicated?" Danielle stepped through the doors, unflinching. Her words cut through the noise. "I didn't leak the truth. The system did, when it tried to hide it." A murmur rippled through the crowd. She paused at the steps, scanning the faces, the flashing cameras. "I said at the conference that they were rewriting reality," she said. "Now you've all heard the first draft." The reporters shouted questions, but she turned away. Alina followed, whispering, "They're calling it a civil rights bombshell." "Good," Danielle said. "Now let's see who runs from the blast." That evening, national news aired the footage uncut. Anchors used the word racism without hedging it in quotes. Civil rights attorneys offered free representation. Politicians scrambled to issue hollow condemnations. Miles called her from his car. "You've started a fire you can't control." "I never wanted control," Danielle said softly. "Just truth. You realize they'll retaliate, right? Lawsuits, character smears. I've already been slapped, arrested, and publicly humiliated," she said. "What more can they take?" He was silent for a beat. "Your company." Danielle looked out over the skyline, the same city that once applauded her rise and now dissected her defiance. "Then they can have it," she said. "I built it once. I can build again, but this time they'll remember who broke it." At midnight, her phone buzzed again. "Same number, same voice. You did it," the man said quietly. "It's everywhere. You sure you're safe?" "I'll disappear for a while." "But you just changed the script." The line went dead. Danielle set the phone down. For the first time in days, she let herself breathe. Not relief, just readiness. Outside, sirens wailed faintly, swallowed by the rain. The world was no longer pretending not to see. Morning light broke cold and gray across the glass towers of downtown. The city was no longer humming. It was vibrating with fallout. Brooks & Co.'s lobby was a storm. News crews, protesters, shareholders, and security, all colliding in the same marble space. Some carried "Justice for Brooks" signs. Others held placards demanding stability and accountability. Danielle's image, frozen mid-slap, was plastered across screens everywhere. Upstairs, the boardroom felt colder than winter steel. 12 executives sat in silence as the chairman, Arthur Vance, shuffled through printed statements. He looked up. "Danielle, we need to talk about the company's future." Her gaze didn't flinch. "We're talking about it right now." "Let's not be naive," he said. "You've turned a business issue into a national scandal." She leaned forward. "A racist assault isn't a business issue, Arthur." His jaw tightened. "It became one the second it threatened our investors." Danielle's voice stayed calm. "Maybe our investors should decide whether their profits depend on silence." A murmur rippled across the table. Vance exhaled. "We've convened this meeting under Article 7, a vote of leadership confidence." Alina, seated at the far end, stiffened. "You're voting her out?" Vance ignored her. "Effective immediately. We propose that Ms. Danielle Brooks be placed on indefinite leave, pending resolution of ongoing media exposure and legal inquiries." Danielle's lips curved slightly. Not a smile, just recognition. "So that's how you bury truth. With paperwork." "This isn't personal," he said. "It always is," she replied. Miles burst into the room mid-session, legal pad in hand. "Hold that vote." Arthur frowned. "You're not a board member." "No," Miles said, "but I represent the one person holding the company's moral backbone." He tossed a folder onto the table. Inside, transcripts of the uncut footage, verification reports, timestamps, and internal emails from the city's PR liaison. Danielle's eyes flicked to him. "Where did you get that?" He didn't answer. Arthur scanned the first page, face paling. "This is confidential correspondence." Miles shrugged. "So was the plan to destroy evidence." Murmurs broke into panic. Phones lit up across the table. Arthur rose. "You violated corporate protocol." Danielle stood too, slowly. "No, Arthur. You violated humanity." He turned toward the others. "Do you all see what she's doing? She's turning this company into a protest stage." "She's turning it into the truth," Alina said. The words landed like a blade. By noon, the stock had plummeted 8%. Clients withdrew contracts. The media camped outside headquarters. Miles paced Danielle's office. "They're calling for your resignation. You'll be forced out before the end of the day." Danielle was silent, watching the skyline. "Good. Good?" he repeated, incredulous. She turned. "If I leave, I'll leave loudly. They can fire me, but they can't erase the video. And once I'm out, I'm free to say everything they tried to hide." "You're playing a dangerous game," Miles warned. "It stopped being a game the day they put me in handcuffs." Her phone buzzed, a breaking news alert. She read it once, twice, then handed it to him. Headline: "City Police Chief under internal investigation following Brooks footage leak." Miles blinked. "It's unraveling." "No," she said. "It's starting." Hours later, the mayor's office issued a press statement. "Pending review of misconduct allegations. Chief Donnelly has been placed on administrative leave." The dominoes were falling. But inside Brooks and Cody, the boardroom was ready for its final blow. Arthur banged the gavel. "We've reviewed all materials. In light of reputational risk and leadership instability, the board hereby votes." Danielle raised a hand. "Don't bother with the performance, Arthur." He frowned. "Excuse me?" She walked to the head of the table, placed a small envelope on the polished wood. "That's my resignation. Effective immediately." Gasps spread through the room. Arthur's face twitched with something like relief. "Well, at least you spared us the—" "And," she interrupted, "attached is a letter transferring my majority voting shares to a public trust fund." Silence. Vance blinked. "You what?" "I'm handing the company to the employees. Every designer, every janitor, every person who built this place, they'll own it now." "You can't—" "I already did." He sputtered. "That's illegal." "It's poetic," she said. Miles smiled faintly from the corner. Danielle looked around the table. "You built your empire on my name. Now it belongs to the people who gave it meaning." Arthur's voice broke. "You'll regret this." Danielle met his gaze. "Maybe, but you'll remember it." Outside, a storm gathered. Cameras swarmed as Danielle walked through the glass doors for the last time. Reporters screamed her name, questions slicing the air. "Ms. Brooks, are you leaving the company for good?" What's next for you? Do you think justice will be served? She stopped at the steps, rain soaking through her coat. I think justice has already begun, she said quietly, and I think it scares the right people. The flashbulbs erupted like lightning. She walked into the storm, not away from it. That night, in a downtown newsroom, a young producer watched her exit clip loop again and again. Cut it right there, he told the editor. When she says it scares the right people, that's the headline, and across the country, the image of Danielle Brooks walking through the rain, alone, unbroken, leaving her company behind, became the symbol of something bigger. The facade had cracked. The system was shaking, but the storm wasn't over yet. It was only gathering strength. 3 days after her resignation, the city turned into a war zone of headlines. Brooks' fallout widens. Police department in crisis. Whistleblower hunt intensifies. Danielle watched it unfold from her apartment. Curtains half drawn, coffee untouched, phone lighting up every few seconds with calls she ignored. Alina sat on the couch, scrolling through her tablet. They're coming after you now. Articles calling you unstable, vindictive, anti-law enforcement. They're trying to smear you before this explodes further. Danielle's tone was quiet, detached. Predictable. Miles entered, tossing a folder onto the table. It's worse than smears. They've reopened your disturbance case. They're trying to reframe the arrest as justified. Danielle's eyes flicked toward him. They're doubling down. Exactly, and I just got word. Guardian Security filed a defamation suit this morning. They're claiming your video release was malicious manipulation. She gave a thin, humorless laugh. The men who hit me are suing me for telling the truth. Miles rubbed his temple. They're buying time. If they stall public opinion long enough, the noise dies down. You become the problem again. Danielle stood pacing slowly to the window. Then we make sure the noise doesn't stop. By nightfall, the streets below were alive with chants. Protesters marched in front of Guardian Security's downtown office holding banners that read, "No justice, no contracts." News drones hovered overhead. Social feeds burned with fury and hope in equal measure. But inside the glass towers of the city's elite, phones rang with panic. At a private dinner uptown, Chief Donnelly, now suspended, leaned close to Arthur Vance across a dimly lit table. "She's unpredictable," Donnelly muttered. "She's got the press, the people, the proof." Arthur's tone was clipped. "She's emotional. That's not power, it's volatility. The media will tire of her." "You don't understand," Donnelly hissed. "There's an internal affairs probe on my officers. They're asking for your company's communications with the city. You think your emails won't surface?" Arthur froze mid-sip. Donnelly smirked. "She's not just coming for me. She's coming for you, too." The next morning, Danielle's apartment building shook with a bang. A news van idled outside, its satellite dish pointed skyward. Reporters clustered at the entrance, shouting questions as she emerged. "Ms. Brooks, did you know about the civil suit? Are you planning to countersue? Have you seen the leaked memo?" She froze. "What memo?" A reporter thrust a tablet forward. On screen, exclusive. Brooks' assistant contacted police insider before video leak. Her chest tightened. "Who wrote this?" Miles appeared behind her, expression grim. "They're turning the whistleblower into a conspiracy," Alina stammered. "They're implying I was the insider." Danielle looked at her. "You didn't talk to anyone?" "No." "I swear, Danielle, I didn't." "I know," Danielle cut in. "This isn't about guilt. It's about distraction." She turned to Miles. "How do we stop this?" "We don't," he said. "We outlast it. Their entire strategy is to make the public doubt everything. Once the case goes federal, they'll lose control. But we need to push it there," Danielle's voice steadied. "Then we push." 2 hours later, she stood before the steps of the federal courthouse, microphones stretching like a forest before her. "This morning," she said, "I filed a formal complaint with the Department of Justice requesting an investigation into the city police department and Guardian Security for conspiracy, evidence tampering, and civil rights violations." Reporters erupted with noise. Danielle raised her hand. "You've seen the video. You've seen the press conferences. What you haven't seen is accountability. So now the system can explain itself, they in court." A flash of thunder echoed above. Cameras lit her in white bursts. "This isn't vengeance," she said evenly. "It's clarity. That night, her phone wouldn't stop vibrating. Threats, support, offers, demands. Miles finally spoke. You're at the point of no return? They'll dig into every part of your life now. I've lived under their judgment since the moment they saw my skin and assumed guilt, Danielle said. Let them dig. Maybe they'll find their reflection down there, Alina whispered. You're not afraid? Danielle looked at her. Of losing? Maybe. Of being silent again? Never. Meanwhile, in a government basement lit by screens, a young DOJ analyst watched her press conference live. He typed a name into his system, Officer M. Kellen. A match appeared. Previous misconduct complaint. Sealed. Another match. Guardian security contract renewal signed by Arthur Vance. He stared at the connection, heart pounding. Oh my God, he muttered. She was right. He clicked forward to Division Chief. By dawn, the leak hit national television. Federal investigation confirms collusion between security firm and city officials. Danielle's phone buzzed nonstop. Miles called first. They're finished. Donnelly's under investigation. Vance is being subpoenaed. Danielle sat on the edge of her bed, eyes unfocused. It's happening. Yes, but brace yourself. When institutions fall, they take people with them. She didn't answer. Outside, protesters cheered in the streets, their chants echoing up to her window. Her reflection looked back, exhausted. Older somehow, but fierce. For the first time, the city didn't look like an enemy. It looked like a witness. Hours later, her doorbell rang. Miles stood there, holding a manila envelope. His face said everything before his words did. They're filing countersuits anyway, he said quietly. Financial defamation, breach of NDA. They'll try to bleed you out through litigation. Danielle took the envelope, nodding once. Let them. You could lose everything. I already did, she said softly. Now I'm just clearing the ruins. That night, as storm clouds rolled over the city, Danielle walked alone through the empty store that once bore her name. The shelves were bare, the lights dim. She touched the counter where it all began, where the slap still echoed in memory. Her whisper broke the silence. You built this to prove you belonged. Turns out that was never the question. She turned off the lights and left without looking back. Behind her, in the darkness, the sign Brooks & Cohen flickered once, then went out. But outside, the chants kept rising. The storm was still hers. The courtroom was silent enough to hear the hum of the ceiling lights. The prosecutor adjusted her files, and every flick of paper echoed like a drumbeat of fate. On the left side sat Ethan Cross, hands clasped, knuckles white. Across from him, Maya Cole, eyes fixed forward, spine straight but trembling inside. The judge entered, the same one who'd denied her complaints months ago. But now cameras lined the back wall. The nation was watching. Mr. Cross, the judge began, tone flat. You stand accused of falsifying evidence, unlawful detainment, and perjury. Maya didn't move. The sound of those charges was enough. Every word tasted like justice, raw, imperfect, but real. Ethan's lawyer stood. Your Honor, my client was under pressure. Pressure doesn't fabricate evidence, the judge cut in. Ethan's jaw flexed. His usual arrogance was gone, replaced by something hollow. For the first time, Maya saw fear in him. Not the defensive, snarling kind, but genuine fear of consequence. The prosecutor rose. Your Honor, the defendant's actions not only humiliated Ms. Cole, but corrupted the integrity of the department. We request a maximum sentence. Maya's mind flashed. The store, the slap, the flashing lights, her wrists in cuffs, the disbelief in the crowd's eyes. Her throat burned. Ethan's eyes darted toward her. One last attempt to connect. You destroyed me, he said, voice low, bitter. She met his stare. No, she replied quietly. You did that yourself. A murmur swept through the courtroom. Cameras zoomed in. The judge banged the gavel. Ethan Cross, you are hereby sentenced to 5 years in federal prison. The sound of the gavel echoed like thunder. Reporters surged. The courtroom doors flew open. Ethan was led away, his badge clinking uselessly against the metal table. He looked smaller, deflated. The power that once shielded him stripped bare. Outside, sunlight spilled over the courthouse steps. Maya paused at the exit, breathing in the cold air, feeling its bite on her skin. Justice in fragments, but hers. Her assistant handed her a phone. Maya, it's trending everywhere. They're calling it the Cole verdict. She looked at the screen. Headlines flashed. CEO wrongly arrested wins historic case. Her reflection stared back. The same face, but not the same woman. Good, she said softly. Let them remember. A group of reporters approached, shouting questions. Miss Cole, how do you feel? Do you forgive him? She adjusted her coat. Feelings don't change the truth, she said. And the truth finally spoke. A gust of wind scattered the papers in her hand. White sheets floating down the courthouse steps. A release. She walked forward. Heels striking against concrete, the rhythm calm, deliberate. Behind her, Ethan's shouts echoed faintly from the hallway. Ahead, the city moved, unaware, unbothered, alive. For the first time in months, Maya didn't need to explain herself. She just kept walking, toward the noise, the light, and the next fight that would come, because justice wasn't a destination. It was motion, and she was finally moving again. The days after the verdict blurred together. News segments, interviews, flashing cameras, 1,000 voices trying to define what happened to her. The symbol of resilience. A victory for justice. They called her everything except what she actually was. Tired. Maya sat in her office, high above the city. The skyline glittered through the glass, but the light felt distant. On her desk, a bouquet of congratulatory flowers wilted under the air conditioning. Her assistant entered quietly. Ma'am, CNN wants another statement. Tell them no, she said. I've said enough. He hesitated. They're offering a feature, from humiliation to triumph. It could... I'm not a headline, she interrupted, voice even. I'm a person who lived through hell. He nodded and left. The door closed and silence reclaimed the room. Her phone buzzed again, a message from an unknown number. You got your justice. Don't think the system's changed. She stared at it, thumb hovering over delete, then locked the screen. It didn't matter. The message was right. One sentence didn't fix centuries of rot. But it was a crack in the wall. And cracks spread. The office door opened again, this time to Nina, her lawyer. You okay? Define okay, Maya said dryly. Nina dropped her briefcase onto the chair. You did it, Maya. You made them listen. Maya leaned back. And yet, it doesn't feel like winning. Nina studied her. Because you lost something they can't give back. Maya looked down at her hands. Steady now, but she could still remember how they'd trembled that night. My piece, she murmured. They took that and there's no verdict for it. The two women sat in silence. Outside, sirens wailed faintly in the distance, a reminder that the world hadn't paused for her victory. Later that evening, she left the building through the back entrance, hood pulled up, avoiding the waiting press. Across the street, she saw a group of young girls standing near the bus stop, one of them whispering, pointing toward her. Maya caught fragments of their talk. That's her, the woman they arrested. She owns her own company. She fought back. The girl's eyes met hers, wide, uncertain, but filled with something close to admiration. Maya smiled faintly. The girl smiled back. For the first time, Maya understood what this was. Not closure, but inheritance. Every scar she carried was a map for someone else to follow out of the dark. As she turned the corner, her reflection caught in a storefront window, the same place where it all began. The glass still gleamed, but now it held her gaze differently. She no longer saw a victim standing there. Her reflection looked back, steady, unflinching, and alive. Maya whispered under her breath, You're still here. A taxi slowed beside her. Miss Cole, you need a ride? She nodded and climbed in. As the car pulled away, city lights smeared across the glass like streaks of memory. Outside, life moved forward, unkind, imperfect, but hers again. The morning sun broke across the skyline, warm light washing the glass tower's gold. For the first time in a long time, Maya Cole wasn't rushing anywhere. No hearings, no depositions, no reporters waiting outside her building. She brewed her own coffee, quietly, deliberately. The small hiss of the espresso machine filled her kitchen. Steam curled up, blurring the reflection in the window. Her phone buzzed. Dozens of messages, congratulations, invitations, endorsements. She scrolled past all of them until she reached one from Officer Grant, the only officer who'd quietly testified on her behalf. I'm sorry it took me too long to speak. We all should have done more, she typed back slowly. Thank you. Doing the right thing is never too late. Setting the phone aside, she walked to her balcony. The city below pulsed with life. People heading to work, sirens in the distance, laughter from a cafe. Normal life. The kind she had to rebuild from ashes. Down on the street, someone held up a protest sign. Justice for Maya Cole. Another read, End Racist Policing. She watched for a long moment. She hadn't started a movement, but somehow one had started around her. A knock on the door. Nina stepped in. They want you to speak at the university next week, she said. Civil Rights Symposium. Maya raised an eyebrow. To talk about what? Trauma, justice? To talk about surviving, Nina replied softly. Maya looked out at the city again. Maybe, she said after a pause. But not about me. About all of us still being here, still standing. Nina smiled faintly. That's enough. Later that afternoon, Maya returned to the store, her store. The same one where it began. New paint, new staff. The air smelled faintly of cedar and lemon cleaner. Customers browsed quietly, unaware of what had once happened on that floor. The manager spotted her. Ms. Cole, I didn't know you were coming. Just wanted to see how it's doing. He hesitated. Better than ever. People come here because of you now, she nodded. They come for the work. Keep it that way. As she turned toward the window, sunlight hit the glass in the same reflection again. But this time the woman looking back wasn't haunted. She looked steady, free. Her phone buzzed again. A message from her mother. I watched the verdict again last night. I'm proud of you. Maya exhaled slowly. Proud. The word carried weight. It wasn't victory. It was peace reclaimed, piece by piece. She stepped outside, the city air alive around her. Car horns, the smell of coffee, the chatter of strangers. For the first time, it didn't feel like noise. It felt like belonging. A reporter's voice echoed faintly from a nearby TV screen in a cafe window. Former officer Ethan Cross begins his 5-year sentence today. Public reaction remains divided. Maya stopped for a second, then kept walking. No bitterness, no triumph, just distance. The kind that meant healing. She turned a corner, blending into the flow of pedestrians. Just another woman in a city full of stories, but the rhythm of her steps held something quiet, defiant, permanent. She whispered, not to the world, but to herself. They took my silence. I took it back. The wind lifted her hair, the city swallowing her footsteps as she walked forward, into sunlight, into motion, into the long, unfinished road called justice.